I will call the San Marcos City Council regular meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, October 21st. The time is 6 p.m. Ms. Trevino, would you call the roll for us, please?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Rodriguez.
Here.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez.
Here.
Ms. Garza. Here. Thank you. Mayor Houston.
Here.
Mr. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Mendoza.
Here.
Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
Okay. Next up is our invocation being given tonight by Taylor Christensen, Executive Pastor of Cypress Creek Church. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's good to see y'all again. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for our city. I thank you for the amazing city staff that work behind the scenes. I thank you for the amazing mayor and city council that are before us. I'm struck by all the smiles and joys just before a meeting like this in a room full of just unity. And so I just pray for further unity, Lord, just in all the decisions they have to make tonight, that you would make just the best decision clear to all and just give them wisdom and guidance. I thank you for all the many people behind the scenes that help make our city amazing. I thank you for the many nonprofit partners that help care for those that are that you care for deeply, whether it's those that are unhoused, those that are hungry, those that are hurting. Lord, I pray you just bless all those various organizations, God, and just thank you for just the many people that make this city great. I pray a blessing over our city. I pray all this in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Next is our pledges of allegiance. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Next up is our citizen comment time period. City Council will hear citizen comments at regular meetings, work sessions, and workshops. Persons wishing to speak during the citizen comment period, public hearing, or question and answer portion of our program must sign up either online or at the city clerk's office prior to 5:45 p.m. the day of the meeting. For those of you online, when it is almost your turn, there's going to be a pop-up question appearing on your screen. You must respond to it in order to be able to speak and turn on your video. Speakers may speak once during citizen comment time period and may not yield time to others. If you speak now about a public hearing topic on tonight's agenda, I ask that you not repeat exactly the same comments again during public hearing on the same topic. You'll have 3 minutes to speak after you state your name. A timer is displayed on the screen. You'll start in the green bar. When the timer shows only yellow, you have less than 20 seconds left, and there'll be a little ping that you can hear. And when the timer is red, your time to speak is up, and a bell will ring. If you hear a popping noise, if you'll step back a little from the microphone, that should fix that. The mayor and council will endeavor to ensure that meetings are conducted in a courteous manner and in an atmosphere free of defamation, intimidation, personal insults, profanity, or threats of violence. If you do any of those, you will hear the gavel. I will ask you to leave the council chambers because this is your warning at this time. So we have a few people who have signed up. I'm just going to go ahead and read all 7 names in order. So you will know kind of where you are. First will be Jaron Coleman, Hannah Garcia, Sam Young, Maxfield Baker, Jared Chumsey, Casey Baker, and Karen Ford. Ms. Trevino, is Jaron Coleman in chambers? Are they online? Okay, I'll circle back. In which case, Hannah Garcia.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Hannah Garcia, and I'm speaking today on behalf of the Austin Apartment Association and our members regarding Item 2, establishing a tenant's right to organize. First, thank you for the opportunity to share our perspective during the development of this ordinance. Tonight, we are speaking to the significant concern that remains regarding the inclusion of property managers as a liable party. We appreciate your discussion and deliberation about this topic at previous meetings. From both a legal and operational standpoint, a property manager defined to an individual remains problematic. The individual's role is to implement policies and maintain operations on behalf of the owner. Texas Local Government Code Section 250.003 specifically states an individual who is an employee of the owner of real property for which a citation for a violation of a county or municipal rule or ordinance is issued, or a company that manage the property on behalf of the property owner is not personally liable for criminal or civil penalties. Additionally, Texas Property Code Chapter 92 specifically provides that the landlord is the only party liable for violations. In addition to that conflict with state law, extending criminal penalty with and liability to an owner, to a person versus the contracted agent of an owner, could create significant challenges disrupting the effective management of communities. On-site teams are focused on ensuring safety, security, and quality of life for residents. Exposing them to a personal liability for policies they do not control would have unintended consequences. The authority and decision-making power rests with the property owner to create or to approve these policies. As council moves forward, we urge the council to make key amendments to review the individual criminal liability that this ordinance establishes. We are committed to notifying our members about any changes to law, and we will continue our efforts to educate members about this ordinance. We'd also like to thank Director Carr for his work on this ordinance and look forward to working with him and staff to further educate our members on this ordinance. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Our next speaker is Sam Young.
Sam Young, good evening. I have several things. All right, first, a big thank you to Matthew Mendoza for his dedication in securing extra water resources for San Marcos. This exciting progress has surely helped attract new businesses and industries, enhancing our city's economic landscape. Then, is there any update on the EMS department? Having lived in several cities in Texas, San Marcos is unique in not having a city-run EMS alongside the fire department. It's an important area to consider as we grow and improve our public safety services. And on the topic of the right to organize ordinance, let's remember how important it is for renters to have protection from landlords who aren't maintaining living spaces properly. Supporting tenants' rights ensures everyone in our community feels secure at home. Looking ahead, in the I-35 corridor from Austin to San Antonio brings together 4 cities: Buda, Kyle, San Marcos, and New Braunfels. San Marcos has a plus with our university led by President Lamphouse, which continues to be a tremendous success. It's great to see the city and the university working more closely together for future improvements. And I'm learning a lot about San Marcos City Council, San Marcos City government, because I've been here before. Based on my own experiences leaving out the university, I'd rank the cities as following: New Braunfels, Kyle, Buda, and San Marcos in that order. But I know we have the potential to climb higher and do even better. Managed growth is key for San Marcos. The Economic Development Committee works hard to bring in new businesses, even if much of their work happens behind the scenes. Sharing more about information that can be available could help everyone stay informed and involved in our city's progress. And let's keep our city council focused on what truly matters: issues that impact economic growth and strengthen our place in Hays County. Finally, just a friendly reminder, every member of the City Council has pledged to uphold the Constitution of the United States. Standing for the Pledge of Allegiance is one way you can demonstrate your commitment to that oath. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Maxfield Baker. There he is.
Howdy. Yes, my name is Maxfield Baker. I am here in my Sunday best dress to put on my nice colorful clothes to come and preemptively thank you all for passing our Right to Organize ordinance that the San Marcos Civics Club, along with the Tenants Advocacy Group and other community organizations, have been working to bring forward. It's not lost on me that I was on council and I didn't pass these things when I was there. And I think that's a really fair thing to mention, that the fight for tenants' rights is something that not all of us see all the time. And yet those living in those conditions know very well. And even though, hindsight being what it is can say, oh, well, now I know what to do, we all should take some responsibility for not having done it in the past, right? We're all sitting here, people have been struggling in these situations for a long time. And now that we have a plan, now that it's a strategic initiative for a few more months, hopefully it gets readopted next January as a strategic initiative. Now that we have some framework to move off of, as we did with the Right to Organize passing in Austin, we can move forward hopefully a little faster. We don't want to break things. We want to move with intention. We want to make sure that when we pursue the other Tenants' Bill of Rights, that we do as much harm reduction as we can in advance of that. Especially as it relates to making leases better and more standard, making sure that people aren't wrongfully evicted, making sure they can get their deposits back correctly. All those things benefit many of the people we're all elected to serve, right? 71% of San Marcos. At the last meeting, the Austin Apartment Association mentioned this concern, and Sam Aguirre, our lawyer, said pretty clearly that we shouldn't need to worry about that. And I hope you all take what he has to say and pass this ordinance as it stands before us tonight. I know that there might be concerns about what unfolds, but as I mentioned last time, property managers are a key component of this, and a big part of the issues that San Marcos renters are dealing with is the property manager aspect. I know that sometimes doing something new can be scary and frankly runs the risk of being sued. And I think that when we look at 71% of our community benefiting from something, that's a risk worth taking. That when we look at the potential to, let property managers point fingers at landlords and vice versa, that we don't serve those people well enough or fast enough. And so let's move forward. Council members Mendoza and Lorenzo Gonzalez, I hope that you all are standing firm with us tonight and ready to vote on this in affirmation on the consent agenda. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jared Chumsey.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jared Chumsey. I'm a volunteer with the Tenant Advocacy Group, or TAG. I'm speaking in support of the Tenants' Right to Organize ordinance in today's consent agenda. TAG is an organization that would specifically benefit from an ordinance like this. It would open up our organizing efforts and shield us from retaliation from landlords, as well as from property managers. Our volunteers could be threatened with trespassing for simple public awareness campaigns and door-knocking initiatives. I know that we're in the middle of an election cycle, and so I'm sure that elected officials could appreciate the ability to speak directly with the constituents and with the residents here in town. We've also heard from local residents that have been threatened with eviction for disrupting renters' rights or for distributing renters' rights flyers at their apartment complexes. The language of this ordinance is incredibly well thought out. Shout out to Councilmember Rodriguez. It is clearly defining each actor, their responsibilities, and their limitations. It is very clearly establishing what landlords and their agents, including property managers, that is really crucial, can and cannot do when communicating with tenants. To take out the property manager component from this ordinance would be to drastically reduce the effectiveness of the ordinance. Property managers are the number one point person that tenants are communicating with. They're largely not communicating with the landlords, especially in large complexes, and it will be the property managers that are going to be pushing or potentially abusing the rights of tenants. So, what's wrong with trying to show the people of San Marcos, 70% of whom are renters, that we care about their interests? If we get rid of the language of property managers, it would essentially just place more restrictions, or it would place some cost on the landlords, but the actual ordinance would have no teeth. The problems would continue to persist, and we would have to come back to the drawing board at City Council to start from scratch. Additionally, landlords and property managers and their agents alike would have nothing to worry about if they just simply follow this ordinance, as you all have laid out for us. You all have done an incredible job with a fine-tooth comb going through the language and asking the really important questions, as you did in the last City Council session, to try to get to the bottom of how you can effectively protect the rights of tenants. And I believe that the ordinance that you have before you tonight does exactly that. So we hope for your vote yes for the right to organize ordinance. And thank you all so much for your time. I know that many of you have spent a lot of time and energy thinking about this issue, and we look forward to collaborating with you all in the future. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Casey Baker.
Hi, Hi, my name's Casey Baker. I am here in support of the Right to Organize ordinance that is on the agenda for today. I thank council for considering this and for all the hard work y'all have done so far on making sure that this ordinance fits San Marcos well. I know that city staff has also been working tirelessly to make sure that they are crafting an ordinance that is going to fit our city's needs, including our renters and the people who do business with our renters as landlords and property owners here in town. I wanted to say that I've heard some grumblings that this is maybe not a needed ordinance because it's stuff that's pretty well already enshrined. Like if you're a property renter, then you do already have the right to organize with your neighbors, correct? But if people don't know that, then they're not going to do it. Texas is a state where people don't typically involve themselves in unions and other organizational efforts. And so it's not always the first thing on people's minds that they might be able to organize with their neighbors to improve their living situations. So by announcing this and by making sure that residents in San Marcos know that they are supported in their rights to organize and to advocate for safe living conditions where they are, that will support their efforts to move forward and better their living situation. I just kind of went off the rails with that sentence. But anyways, y'all know what I'm saying. If people know that they have the right, then they're going to exercise it. If they're not aware of it or they've never thought about it, then they might be living in unsavory conditions and just dealing with it because that's what they have. So I think that this is a very important thing to push forward. I want our citizens to know what their rights are and that they are able to exercise them without fear of retaliation. I also think that people who are renting out their property to tenants need to know that their tenants have these rights as well and to be aware of that. When we first started as a civics club announcing our plans to push forward a tenants' bill of rights, specifically starting with this right to organize, somebody on Reddit mentioned back to us that they are going to look through our petition for a tenants' bill of rights for any of their renters and that they will start drafting up language to go ahead and evict these tenants. I don't know if that was something true or not. It was on Reddit, so it might not have even been a landlord for all I know. They might have been in another country. But I still think the fact that that thread is there and that you can see that posted online and people might have misgivings about whether or not they went to organize to better their situation, for them to hear officially from our city that they have the right to organize codified in our ordinances, that they will be able to confidently move forward in protecting their living standards. Thanks, and have a good one.
Our next speaker is Karen Ford.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and hardworking staff. My name is Karen Ford. I live at 500 Brown Terrace. I'm here honored to have been appointed to the City Hall Citizen Advisory Committee by Councilmember Jude Prather on his way out last fall. And so I'm here to speak about agenda item number 18. First, I want to say that I'm in support of the agenda item and the entering into a conceptual planning agreement with Upwards Communities. I like that this is a company that is local, and the folks that are managing this effort are from here and have a shared vision, and they don't want to mess things up for their city where they live. So I think they're going to do a great job, and I think they have intention to do really good things in San Marcos. Secondly, I want to see our city become an example of how to build a smart and sustainable public infrastructure for other communities around the state and around the nation to come and see. It's no secret that our state is growing fast and growing past our natural water resources. And so it's only going to get more precious and much more expensive. So as a benefit to current and future residents of San Marcos, the City Hall must make water conservation and innovative water resources a priority. Therefore, I'm advocating that we add to our stated goals on that planning process for the City Hall project. And I think we would be remiss if we don't add this, that the goal of built-in water resiliency with a commitment to a one water approach in our new City Hall be really called out and be put in that plan. So you may not be familiar with One Water. It is a comprehensive approach to water management that recognizes that all water is a potential resource, all water on site, whether it's rainwater, AC condensate, the storm water, the gray water, the wastewater, and the drinking water. It can all help meet potable and non-potable water requirements at a building scale. So I want to see this brought into kind of almost codified within our goals. The Blue Hole School in Wimberley, you may have heard of, is the first public school built with One Water approach. Another is being built now in the Lake Travis area. So let's go ahead and put water resiliency in the goals list for our new City Hall.
And your time is up.
Thank you.
Did Jaron Coleman make it in? I didn't see him online. Okay. So that concludes the citizen comment portion of our program. And we are now to the consent agenda. Items 1 through 14 may be acted upon by one vote, or council members may pull items for separate discussion and a vote. Council, is there anything y'all want to pull? Did you say 10?
2.
Oh, 2, okay. I'm pulling 10. Anybody else? Anything? Yes. All right, then I will accept a motion to accept 1, 3 through 9, and 11 through 14. Anybody?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Mendoza. You push button voting? Okay.
The motion passes 7-0.
All right, we will move on to our public hearing and go back to the pulled items from consent. So we are at item 15. Ms. Trevino.
Receive a staff presentation, hold a public hearing to receive comments for or against ordinance 2025-45, annexing into the city in case number AN-25-06, approximately 5.42 acres of the following road rights-of-way located in Hays County, Texas: Centerpoint Road, east of IH-35, south Old Bastrop Highway, west of SH-123, Clovis Parker Road, adjacent to UMC subdivision, Yarrington Road, adjacent to the Whisper East subdivision, Transportation Way and half the width of Limbo Drive, and Transportation Way near the intersection with Centerpoint Road, including procedural provisions, and declare an effective date, and consider approval of ordinance 2025-45 on the first of 2 readings.
Presentation.
Good evening, Council. Andrea Villalobos, Interim Director of Planning and Development Services. So this annexation is for a handful of roadways and was initiated by a conversation with the city and Hays County. In 2024, Council approved an annexation for 6 other strips of roadway, very similar to this request as well. This is part of a cleanup effort to annex gaps in city limits along certain roads. In 2015, the state legislature approved a law stating that cities have to annex right-of-way adjacent to property that they're annexing, and so a few segments were missed. 2 of the segments tonight are just cleaning up roadways adjacent to some of those older annexations, and the other 4 are simply to address continuity of city maintenance along roadways. There's no zoning involved with this annexation, and the roads will take the default zoning of future development, or FD. Next slide. First on the list is Centerpoint Road, just behind the Outlet Mall. And as I proceed through this presentation, you'll see the area to be annexed highlighted in yellow. And the gray area is land that's within the city limits. And then everything else not colored gray is still within the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction, or ETJ. So this is our first segment here, again, behind the outlet malls. Next slide is our second segment. It is along South Old Bastrop Highway and is to the front and just to the right of the San Marcos High School. Next slide is our third segment. It's along Clovis Barker Road, and we're annexing a portion of right-of-way in front of Urban Mining, which is now called Novion Magnetics. It's just south of Leah Avenue. Next segment is along Yarrington Road, next to Whisper East. And this actually fills a little hole that was left over when the original shape of Whisper East just looked a little bit different. And we realigned, or the county realigned Yarrington Road, so there's just a small little strip there that needed to be caught. Next slide is segment number 5, and that fills in a gap along Transportation Way and Lembo Drive closer to Posey Road. And then our last slide here is just a small segment, a portion of Transportation Way closer to Center Point Road, so just the other side of Center Point. Next slide. This evening, we're holding our public hearing on the annexation, and on the next slide, staff recommends approval of the annexation as presented, and that concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you. I will now open the public hearing and ask if there is, Mr. Trevino, I don't see anybody had signed up in advance. Okay, is there anyone in chambers who wishes to speak for, against, or about this item? Anybody? Anybody? I will close the public hearing, and I await a motion from council. Motion from Mr. Shane Scott, seconded by Ms. Rodriguez. Council, are there any questions? If not, we will vote. Thank you, Ms. Villalobos. Nice job.
Thank you.
The motion passes 7-0.
All right, so now we will go back to, that concludes the public hearing portion of our program. So we will go back to item 2.
Consider approval of ordinance 2025-43 on the second of 2 readings, amending Chapter 46 of the San Marcos City Code by adding a new Article 4 to formally recognize and codify a tenant's right to organize, providing penalties for violation of the article, providing a savings clause, providing for the repeal of any conflicting provisions, and declare an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we've got a motion from Mr. Scott, seconded by Ms. Rodriguez. Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez, you pulled this item?
Yeah, so I actually had a question for staff based on 2 comments from public comment. So Mr. Chumsey mentioned that tag organizers would no longer risk arrest for trespassing when doing their work. So I just want to clarify, under the ordinance, can groups like TAG access any property without being invited by the property's residents? And well, I guess answer that question, and then I had a follow-up question.
I can answer that. They specifically read that you can't just go and solicit on it. You have to be invited by somebody that lives there, and they have to be with you.
Okay, and that was my understanding as well. So following up, I believe it was Ms. Baker that made the comment that even though these rights exist, otherwise people that, if tenants don't know that they have the rights, then they can't exercise their rights. So, and I'm not sure where in the ordinance it's written, but I'm wondering if my colleagues would entertain giving organizations like TAG the ability to go unsolicited onto properties. Because again, if tenants don't know that they have these rights, they won't reach out to an organization like TAG to invite them on. So I kind of feel like we're not solving a problem. If organizations that do this work need to be invited, it requires a tenant to know to invite them.
Do you have a motion to amend, sir?
So yeah, I guess, but I don't know where exactly in.
So we're talking about section 46.124 under rights established, if we want to pull it up. I'm assuming you're talking about section B, subsection 5, because that's the language of invites tenant organizers to assist with organizing if accompanied by a tenant. Is that the section that you're talking about?
Well, I guess, so that's what I'm saying. I don't know where it's written, but kind of based on those 2 comments, if an organization, a tenants' rights organization needs to be invited, but tenants don't know that they have these rights, they wouldn't know to invite a tenants' rights organization. So I guess wherever the relevant section is, I would move to amend that to not require that they be invited by a tenant or resident. Essentially, that it would allow organizations like TAG to unsolicited go onto properties that are known troubled properties and reach out to tenants.
I will second for the purpose of discussion, because I have a follow-up I'd like to add.
Okay, let's go back to, would you provide exactly what section and what wording that we're talking about, so we all know what we're talking about? I believe you had found it, Ms. Rodriguez. Where is it?
Yeah, we're talking about section 46.124 is the assumption I'm making, under rights
124?
established. It's slightly before the one we're looking at now.
Rights established, and then underneath that,
It's specifically section B, subsection 5.
I heard the B5, but I didn't know where to look under.
Invites tenant organizers to assist if accompanied by a tenant. While you're workshopping language, I just want to, again, we've had these discussions before as a body on, I think we can all agree, maybe, hopefully, that an ordinance that had a little bit more teeth would have been preferable, okay? Just to be honest and frank with the public. We know, though, however, that our reality is that we live under a highly preempted state. And so the reason why this language looks the way it does, just for the public's knowledge who wasn't aware of those discussions, is because that we know that this has since survived preemption. It's still in place today in Austin. And I would just really highly caution us making additions in the, or changes in the 11th hour without really knowing what does state law say. If we have time, it's kind of a weird position to put legal in, but if we have time, if we want to comment on it, I mean, that's fine. I just wanted to throw that out for my colleagues.
Well, I guess,
Go ahead.
we do have a second after all, so my initial thought, if I'm understanding the desire, is actually, if you don't mind, could you restate it? So I'm not sure we're on the same page.
So I'm assuming that organizations like TAG have knowledge of properties that may be more difficult to work with and or possibly violating or whatever. They need help, or where the tenants need help more than others. But if the tenants don't know that they have these rights and don't know to invite an organization like TAG, then TAG can't go and do their work. So essentially what I want is if TAG or any other or tenants' rights organization that does this type of work knows of a property that may benefit, for them to be able to go on unsolicited and distribute information about tenants' rights, et cetera, without having to be invited by a current resident.
Okay, so I
So
guess.
i.e., I guess allowing them to solicit without
So
facing trespass ordinance.
I have a little bit of a concern
property.
there in terms of, because even under the current ordinance, for example, you have certain gated communities. Even under our current ordinance, a person, you have to be invited by the resident to come into a gated. We don't allow, in other words, tenant organizers don't have any greater rights than any other normal solicitor or other person who would be allowed to go door to door in an apartment complex. So for example, where I live, we do get flyers for, Domino's Pizza or whatever, and it's fine there. And so a tenant organizer would pretty much have the same access for that kind of complex. And then some complexes would not allow any solicitors of any type. And that's just the way those are the apartment rules. So I have a little concern of just granting kind of a license to enter,
Yeah.
that's across the board, if that makes sense.
So given that example, so the properties that would allow the pizza places to go and leave leaflets or whatever on every door, even if it's technically a violation, but don't call the cops and try to press trespassing charges against them, but due to tenants' rights organizations. So I guess, and maybe this isn't in this ordinance as written, but it's essentially, if we're gonna do this, I want to, I guess, go as far as possible. And I know like the property I live in is technically supposed to be a gated community or gated property, and no one's supposed to be able to go in, but if I get pizza and whatever ads all the time, so obviously they are. But I could probably guarantee you that my property manager would call SMPD
Well, and
if tag showed up. So I don't
Mr.
know if there's,
Gonzalez.
if there's a way to
I have
put
I have a
that
question.
it be,
Yeah,
that
and
they
I've
cannot
got-
target
Yeah,
tenants' rights organizations or unfairly
yeah, well, yeah.
apply rules to tenants' rights organizations that they don't otherwise do to other entities.
Let's hold on, because I've got a thought, and that is, how often is that likely to happen? Conversations are usually probably somewhere in class, at the grocery store, maybe where people are listening to music. That contact can be made outside of the apartment complex such that then someone could be invited in. I think a concern is to make sure that it's not people coming somewhere that maybe is unwanted by the tenants. But how often is it likely to happen that a group hears that apartment complex is problematic and then they're just gonna show up? I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out how often the concern that you have is gonna come up, that it can't be solved another way, which is
Yeah.
what's in the ordinance.
Mayor, and also I have a question for my
And
colleague.
then I need to go to Mr. Mendoza.
You started off your desire about this being know your rights. Completely agree. If we want to discuss and entertain a secondary motion at a later date on how this city can do better at informing people, meeting them at their door with city resources and city information, happy to second that, happy to entertain that. I just really, I get the heart of what you're trying to do is good. But again, just given the state, given the situation we're in, I would just really encourage us. I seconded it so we could have this discussion. I do not plan on supporting it. So I would just hope that we can think about it from that terms. But like I said, if this is a future item, we get down to flyering, I will personally walk doors with you. But on this, I would just ask my colleagues not to entertain it.
So one thing, it just popped in my head, if they think there's something going on here and they want to get in, you could always just do some mailers to them, because that's going to get to everybody, or a certain number. All you got to do is get to that one person that will talk to you about a problem, and then you can get in.
Yeah, Mr. Mendoza, and then Ms. Garza has comments.
And this is for the future conversation. I agree with Mrs. Rodriguez here about my fear is the state doing what they do and causing more problems than we wanted to. But that nasty word, solicitation. I know that as a city, we can walk on and kind of give a flyer out saying, hey, there's a gas leak, or hey, there's something going on. And because the city has the authorities, we're not solicitors, we're informing them. Is there a way to eventually make this renters' rights not solicitors? I mean, to categorize them as necessity, so they're not sales reps, they're not trying to get something for them. We can actually add the ability so they're not discriminated against. They aren't really soliciting, they're on behalf of an ordinance that's from the city.
Are you pointing to a word in the ordinance or a word that was said?
This is just a curiosity for later conversation. I just have this on my mind now to prep up. If solicitation is the bad word that we can get around of, instead of just allowing access for anybody there and allow them to, since they are going on behalf of an ordinance that we're in placing, can they sit there and say, hey, we're going on behalf of the city ordinance, so we don't need to be, we're not solicitors, we're actually informing them like we would as a city, telling them, hey, there's a meeting happening next month to talk about the parks or the stuff like that. I'm just trying to think
Well,
of a way.
I hear you, but I ask because is it germane? That's what I'm trying to understand.
I'm just trying to think of a way for us to do it without the state going back and saying, hey, what's the language we can use without them catching on?
I'm sure we could have some future discussions, but
My
just on
apologies.
that concept,
Okay.
I think it's fair discussion because you're trying to understand what our options are. And I think along those lines, it's not about the city or the city's ordinance in that respect because, and especially we're in Texas, there's still an aspect of private property rights. So typically, even with the city, we would go, say in a gated community, it's more likely the city would go to property management, provide them information. Even city officials typically can't just have a free right of access because there's still the right of the property owner to have certain restrictions. So, there's just some practical issues. I think
Well, and
surely we
people
can
can pull
discuss.
other things out of other ordinances and say, oh, I'm going in there to do that. That's opening up
But-
something that I don't think we need to go
yes, the educational campaigns, informing people, TAG can educate the public and so forth. I'm happy to explore concepts. We're always open to that, but I think
Yeah,
for
if
tonight,
people-
that'd be a hard
If
one to
people are hearing
craft.
about it, that means there's somebody talking about it outside.
Yep.
Ms. Garza?
I just had a quick comment. I appreciate that my colleagues are trying to imagine even more ways to empower our neighbors with more like tools and tactics to advocate for themselves and each other. But in that spirit, I just want to encourage y'all and myself to meet with community organizers who are doing this work. I think, and I appreciate like where the spirit, but it's like we're assuming that this is a need that they have. But, community organizers, like they're following like the toolkits and the toolboxes of like years of organizing around this, and they lean on, bigger organizations and even like TAG and whatnot, like they have good connections with mentors and whatnot. So maybe this could be for a future discussion where we can workshop with our neighbors. What other tools do you need, and how we can help interweave that into revisiting this or something else. And then lastly, about the Know Your Rights, I know the city has been doing a really good job increasing Know Your Rights in general for our community, whether that's navigating, city operations or resources. And so that's just, I appreciate y'all naming that. We can interweave more of that into our already created resource toolbox.
And I know that is one thing that's planned with the Office of Community Support and Resource Navigation getting set up. Actually worked with Grisel today to hear a little bit about the update on where that is. They're working on doing a whole site that has kind of a know your resources, and it'll have tenant rights, it'll have immigration rights, it'll have all the different resources that people have to be able to navigate. And so we'll be getting with mayor and council to let you know what our marketing plan is to get the information out and all that. So we're hoping to go live by early, either the end of this month or early next month, but staff communications and Grisel have been working on it.
Okay,
So just so that we don't have to go through a pointless vote, I want to withdraw my amendment.
Okay. Yeah, well, we didn't have definitive language to vote on anyway, but,
True.
yeah. So, is there anything else, now that we've set that aside, is there anything else on the ordinance that someone wishes to, Ms.
No,
Rodriguez?
I want to say, sincere thank you. This was such a long, as former Councilman Baker attested to, this was such a long fight. It was so many moving pieces, with staff just being phenomenal, Mr. Baker just being relentless, but also so willing to work with everybody, and I just have mad respect for that. All of the advocates who have been coming out time and time again to share their support, and just my colleagues, for Mr. Scott for being my second, I really do appreciate it. And yeah, I'm just excited for us to start this ball down, hopefully into bigger protections for our renters in the city. So thank you to everybody.
So one thing I do want to say is that the apartment association that was here speaking, they're already reaching out on how to get this information out to their members and people that aren't their members. So it's a group-wide effort, so.
Yes,
Again, thanks to staff and everyone who helped pull this together. And if this is the end of our conversation, we can vote now.
The motion passes 7-0.
All right, on to item 10, please.
Consider approval of Resolution 2025-202R, approving a funding contract with the nonprofit San Marcos Sights and Sounds of San Marcos, Inc. for the 2025 Sights and Sounds of Christmas signature event and the continued display of holiday lighting after the event, with the city providing funds in an amount not to exceed $100,000, of which half is from hotel occupancy taxes. Authorize city manager or designee to execute the agreement on behalf of the city and declare an effective date.
I will make a motion to approve. Looking for Mr. Scott is the second. And I just wanted to pull this, not having an issue with it. I want everybody to know Sights and Sounds is back in full force. And also to let people know that part of what we get for the funding that we put in is we get the extra time on the lights, et cetera. If it were sights and sounds only, they would have it there for the time that they need it, and some of the dollars that we're putting in is the Christmas lights and some other things for an additional few weeks until after the first of the year. So just to let people know a little bit about that, and first 2 weekends in December. And that's all I really just wanted to say. And kids are still free. Anyone else?
I'm just looking forward to seeing the joy in the community's faces when they see their kiddos perform.
Yeah.
And all of that. I think it'll be nice.
Mayor, do you also want to mention the day that they'll be having, that the community can come for free?
It's the first weekend, it's the first weekend and Thursday that it is free. Come check it out, come back, see how wonderful and lovely it is, and my apologies for not knowing that exact date, but it'd be the first Thursday, and it's the 4th of December.
I'm sure we'll post it online.
Yeah. Anything else? If not, we will vote on this now.
The motion passes 7-0.
All righty. On to item 16, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Consider approval of ordinance 2025-46 on the first of 2 readings, amending the city's 2024-2025 fiscal year budget to adjust expenditure accounts in the Resource Recovery Fund, including procedural provisions, and declare an effective date.
Motion from Ms. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Scott? All right, by Mr. Scott. And are there any questions? Vote when you're ready.
Motion passes 7-0.
Item 17.
Consider approval of resolution 2025-207, approving a resolution by the Board of Directors of the Alliance Regional Water Authority authorizing the issuance of contract revenue bonds in the aggregate principal amount of $12,015,000 for the city of San Marcos, Texas, in connection with the regional water supply contract project, and approving other related matters.
Motion to approve.
Motion from Mr. Mendoza, seconded by Mr. Scott. Any questions?
No.
Packet was informative.
Motion passes 7-0.
On to item 18.
Consider approval of resolution 2025-208R, approving a conceptual planning agreement with Upward Communities for redevelopment in downtown San Marcos known as the Hopkins Redevelopment Project, including new city hall and a potential public-private partnership in an amount not to exceed $767,970. Authorize city manager, her designee, to execute the agreement on behalf of the city and declare an effective date.
Approve. Second.
Motion from Mr. Scott, seconded by Mr. Mendoza. Mr. Meagle, we're ready for more information, sir.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Hayden Meagle, Director of Administrative Services. Now, I'm excited to provide you with additional information on this item.
Yeah.
So the purpose of tonight's item is for City Council to consider a conceptual planning agreement with Upward Communities. First, I'll just provide a quick little recap of some of the actions that we have taken regarding the new City Hall Hopkins City Center project over the past year. In November of 2024, City Council appointed an advisory committee of San Marcos residents representing a number of different areas, including Texas State University, the environment, some of the neighborhoods near this site, just to kind of provide some of their input on the overall project. Also in November of 2024, we hired a consultant to provide transactional advisory service and land planning services to us. That consultant is Economic and Planning Systems, and they have sub-consultants of Fries and Nichols and McCann Adams Studio. That Citizens Advisory Committee met in February, March, and May of this year to discuss the project. And over the summer, the city received an unsolicited proposal that included a new city hall, as well as other development closer to the downtown area. In the interest of transparency, the city developed a request for information and put that out to the public to see if there were any other individuals or developers that had any ideas for this project, and 2 proposals were received. And then last week, Wednesday, October 15th, that proposal was from Upward Communities was presented to that Citizen Advisory Committee. I think overall it was very well received. It received broad support from the members that were present, and in general, the direction was, or the comments were to move forward with this proposal. Next slide. So I mentioned whenever I started out that that this proposal is exciting. And if you'll recall earlier, whenever we brought the City Hall project forward, we were looking at this site and the site across Hopkins. And you can ask, why is this proposal more exciting than that? This one actually fulfills some of the council direction that we originally received in 2022 whenever we began discussing about this. Part of that was looking at a city presence in downtown. Staff analysis at that time determined that it really wasn't feasible due to the space needs and the cost. And another one was to explore partnerships and alternative funding mechanisms. So, and the reason for that is looking to see how, if we monetize a site, will we be able to help reduce the financial burden on the taxpayers. Another part of this proposal is that it meets a larger purpose of activating the downtown area. And we could also look at possibly how we could utilize some other city-owned lots downtown. And the final things, which it'll be elaborated on in the proposal from the developer, but this proposal checks a lot of boxes in the downtown area plan that was approved in fall of 2023, as well as the Arts Master Plan update approved in spring of 2022. With that, I will turn it over to Ms. Keely Henning to provide the presentation on the proposal.
One question, Hayden, before Keely does that. Would you also just kind of, for the public that may not have been following this process, what's the why that we're needing a new city hall? So just to go back to that kind of nuts and bolts ground level in terms of why.
Sure. The current building that we're in, it has some deficiencies. It's 50 years old at this point. There have been a number of maintenance issues. Another reason, whenever we have items that generate a lot of public support, we definitely have some space constraints in this building as well. A new city hall would also help us consolidate the departments a little bit more than they currently are. We're spread throughout the campus, and the maintenance issues are not only with this building, there are also some in some of the other buildings as well. So it really helps. We need a new city hall just because, continue the structural issues that we have with this one. Don't know if y'all have noticed, a lot of the doors don't necessarily close or open like they need to, just because the foundation is all over the place. And I don't know how many times we've been evacuated over the past year if due to either gas issues or water issues or a whole number of issues that we have with this building. So there's a number of reasons.
Thank you, Hayden.
And now I'll turn it over.
All right, thank you very much. My name's Keely Hennig, and I am with Upward Communities. And this is our presentation that we did present to the steering committee last week, starting with who are we? We are, first and foremost, Jason Roberts. He is the founder CEO. You can kind of see our credentials up there. Graduated from San Marcos High School, graduated from Texas State, local developer, lives and works here. Same as myself, I graduated from San Marcos High School, Southwest and Texas State. I've been very active in the community, still am. This year I've decided to help out with Sights and Sounds, so very invested. And then we have as a consultant, Dr. Daniel Guerrero, also born and raised San Marcos High School graduate, Texas State graduate. So I have all that to show you how this isn't just, this is something very important to us because we did grow up here, we still live here, we still work here, we have kids here. So this is just something near and dear to our heart, and it's something we're really excited about and that we see as a legacy project, not just for us, but for everyone in here, for the steering committee. It's something that San Marcos can really be proud of. Next slide. Just quickly going over some of the project goals. You may see that a lot of these match what was in the presentation back in May to the steering committee. We really want to meet City Hall space needs along with parking. We think that's going to be kind of a phase one of the project. But then we want to address the site constraints. Obviously, a brand-new building, you're not going to have the issues you have with this current site. We see this as an opportunity to create a more welcoming gateway experience coming into downtown, activating city-owned property, respecting the watershed plan, respecting community perspectives. We are being very active with the steering committee in this process. So those are just some of the goals. Next slide. Just a general description, the project will be comprised of a mixed-use, multi-phase development along the Hopkins Street corridor leading into downtown. As currently envisioned, the project includes a new city hall, a potential public-private partnership for the development of land that the city hall complex is currently on, corridor improvements along Hopkins Street, and improvements to the civic corridor on the north side of Hopkins Street, as well as the potential downtown city hall location. Next slide. Imagine the possibilities. So when we presented to the steering committee beforehand, we went through the downtown area plan and really used that as a guide. We know the importance of these documents that were very much led by community members, and we want to respect what the city, what community members have decided is important to them. And so going through that, we kind of see that these are all different possibilities within this development outside of the city hall and the parking garage. You know, we're open to discussing the possibility of a downtown hotel, downtown conference center space. In my time, having been involved with the Chamber and the Four Rivers Association of Realtors and all the other things, one of the things that was always repeating was we don't have really great meeting space downtown. I was on the Main Street Advisory Board for 3 years, and there is a statewide Main Street conference that we held here, I believe is in 2022, and it was at Embassy Suites, which was wonderful, but we had to bus everyone downtown to see our downtown. So that's a little bit of a problem. And we don't see this as competition with Embassy Suites. We see it complementing Embassy Suites. We know that they, the conference center at Embassy Suites does have to turn away certain business because they get booked out so quickly and far in advance, which I think is great. So let's complement it and have another location downtown for some of those other events. So again, this is just a list of different things, again, using the downtown area plan and the arts master plan for some of the things that we can discuss moving forward. Next slide. The impact. I don't necessarily want to read through all of these, but I think some of the biggest impact is going to be increased visitor traffic downtown. That's going to really benefit our local downtown businesses, which is so important. And once those businesses get the impact, hopefully that brings in more new businesses wanting to also come to our downtown. It'll attract tourism, business travelers. Where the location that we're looking at is going to remove some vacant land. We can offer venues for local events, conferences, all those types of things. Next slide. Some more impact if we did the downtown hotel, generating hotel occupancy tax, connecting downtown to Texas State and the river, strengthening downtown's unique identity. Again, I'm not going to read through all of it word for word. Next slide. Creating a landmark destination. Improving quality of life for San Marcos residents. I'm also hoping that doing this downtown will get some more of our residents downtown, and because I do think a lot of times we have some events down there, but I think it would be great to have even more events down there that, you know, really speaks to a broader audience of our community. It can also provide a cohesion in the architecture and design, sparking investment and attracting people of all ages and walks of life. Next slide. The next 15 slides I am not going to go through. These are all how our proposal meets the downtown area plan and or the arts master plan. We literally went through and found how something in the downtown area plan matched what we're proposing. And so I don't want to read through all 15 pages because I don't want to put y'all asleep, but we did include it in there. If y'all, whoever's doing the pages wants to fast forward through the next 15 slides, but we did do City Hall, we did how it matches downtown hotel conference center, how the parking garage, if we do an open air market, and the arts and culture district, and how each of those can match the downtown area plan. And then the conceptual phase, next steps, obviously tonight we're here to present to you. And then we are in the process of the property procurement of the property downtown, doing site due diligence, determining financial feasibility, and then continuing with meetings with the city, both the city manager's office and planning department, and then having met with the planning department, doing watershed protection plan, plating, public improvement construction plan, traffic impact analysis, and then additional steering committee meetings as needed. Next. Oh, and then that was my QR code. Y'all can skip through that too. That was just if people wanted to schedule a meeting with me. So, thank you.
So the direction that we're looking from council tonight is, well, actually, it's consideration. Does city council approve of entering into a conceptual planning agreement with Upward Communities to further explore a public-private partnership for a development downtown that includes a new city hall? I guess, just to emphasize, this is only approving the conceptual planning phase this evening. There's another pre-development phase that would be coming back to city council for approval before we proceed into that. And the other point that I'd like to make is that the funding for this would come from the funds that have already been set aside from city council in previous budget cycles for the new city hall project. So this is not affecting our current budget. And I believe that concludes my presentation.
All right, and council, I'm starting with Mr. Mendoza, but if you just let me know you want to say something, I'll come to you. Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you for the presentation, but could I possibly, the one thing we did miss that was so important is the location.
Location?
Could we show that,
I thought
please?
about that,
Sorry.
too.
Let's get, just want to make sure that all of us are able to see where it's going to, the proposal place is at and kind of how far it goes back.
Yeah, it should be on one of the,
Yes.
Early, well,
I think
it's after the 15 pages that address the downtown area plan, but it was before the next steps. Wherever that is in there. There it is.
there we go.
So, this is going to be what is currently, where we kind of envision, I think, City Hall going is currently just a parking lot. So getting rid of some impervious cover, but it's where, if you grew up here, have been here a long time, it was where Mr. Gaddy's was a long time ago, right there on the corner of Hopkins and C.M. Allen. So that lot, behind it, there is another empty lot, and on the corner, there is what was the Old Breed Hardware Store, and we are aware that that is on the list with the Historical Preservation Committee as a high priority building. We are also looking at the possible where Bank of America building is, Wells Fargo building, the Skiles building, and then Wells Fargo has a parking lot on the other side of San Antonio Street.
Thank you. I just have one more question to ask, if I can.
Go for it. You got the floor.
This location here, would there be a need to increase the impervious cover percentage that we have here?
I don't think so, because like I said, the one right now with the empty parking lot, I think that's where we're envisioning City Hall would go, so it'd be actually getting rid of impervious cover.
Perfect.
And then if we do the parking garage, where right now it's an empty, it's that weird angled lot, it's just gravel and grass right now, that's might be where the parking garage goes. The good thing is, we're so early in this, we haven't decided where things go, but I don't imagine adding to it. If anything, I think we'd be taking away.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Other questions? Ms. Garza? I'm sorry, I thought you were ready to
No,
jump in. Okay.
I mean, you touched on the location, so.
I guess,
Can
speaking to
we-
that point on the impervious cover, could have elaborated this a little bit better. So we were looking at a couple of concepts, or a couple of different options, this current site and across the street. I guess for this sake, we can call them option A and option B. What we intend with this conceptual planning agreement is to add an option C and to bring it to the same level that we are at with options A and B. We are not throwing out necessarily options A and B, but it's bringing this one up to the same level. And that was something, looking at the impervious cover was something that we looked at.
You got the floor.
Okay, so, what would happen if they decide to put the city hall, the whole 9 yards, this goes forward? What's gonna happen with the roads that are currently there, that we have access to? Are they looking at being
You talking about roads or alleys?
Oh, well, I know we have the whole, I keep forgetting the name of the road in front of, or between the Bank of America and Wells Fargo, but alleyways, everything here that we do use for transportation, what's gonna happen with these roads?
I think it really depends on what we determine is feasible and where everything would be located.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty wide open right now. I mean, one of the things that did come up during the pre-development or pre-development meeting that we had with Planning and Development Services was even looking at that stretch of San Antonio. If we have a parking garage there and have City Hall across the street, part of this is looking at an open air space. Maybe it is then designated as like a festival street area but
Okay.
really it's too soon to say specifically what would happen with any of these roads.
And I know
Well,
this is still.
given the railroad track is there, if they're not going anywhere, I think we can
We'll be
kind
okay.
of do what we need to with that space.
I was just curious about how was the correction going to be made for the elevation difference between the old Mr. Gaddy's lot and where Bank of America sits? I know there's a pretty drastic drop there. How is that going to be approached?
That's something that we would need to look at through this.
Figure it out.
Okay.
It'll be in the concept plan,
Sometimes cut and fill scares me, but
or you just,
I can deal with it.
I
Okay.
do have
Thank
a
you.
question. I have a question.
go ahead.
Has something like this been proposed in the past? I feel like I'm getting a little bit deja vu. And where did that conversation end and what has changed since then?
So there was a proposal submitted back in 2020.
Right.
And it wasn't for this extensive of a development at that time. I believe it included a city hall and a parking garage, and that was pretty much the extent of it. But at that time, it was determined not to proceed with that proposal.
Well, and there's been times when folks have said, let's put it downtown, and there was a thought when the government folks moved out where industry and stuff is now, there was thought of doing that, and that was in 2014, right before I got elected, and part of the concern then was majority council said no, and a lot of it was didn't want to take that property out the tax roll. Now, in that particular case, I think that site was really too small also. But there have been a lot of folks who have said, let's put it downtown, and I'll go, show me a place big enough. And so
Right.
perhaps we
So-
have now found one.
2020, that was before I got on, right? I just remember like lingers of the conversation.
And I wasn't involved in that proposal, so it's hard for me to remember exactly. There was another component to it, and I don't remember if it was hotel or like condos, townhomes, something like that. So there was another component, not just the city hall, from what I'm remembering. It was city hall, parking garage, and then, like I said, maybe some kind of
Yes.
townhomes things.
City Hall was not going to be in the same location.
Oh, gotcha.
It was
Okay.
tucked back, if I remember
It was
correctly.
towards
Yeah,
back
the
of property.
hotel would have fronted Hopkins, and the City Hall would have been behind it, which was a heck no for me, but.
Gotcha. I just wanted to name that just real quick because I'm supportive of this project. I also want to say that I think we did a great job appointing like a diverse group of folks to that, what is it called, the steering committee? And so if they support this, I support this. But yeah, thank you for that lore.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know who this question would be best posed to, so when you hear it, I'm just thinking in my head. Can we articulate now that well, let's first break it into two. For the conceptual plan agreement that's currently before us today, can we articulate for the public what to anticipate the deliverables of this will be?
Yes, we can. So if you go, so in Exhibit B, there was a timeline of all the different elements of this. So looking at the feasibility of it in general, there is a community engagement aspect as well. Defining what goes into the city hall, although a lot of that has already been done with the space planning study that the city performed earlier this year. Looking at some of the conceptual design and planning, and one of the big questions is looking at the financing and budgeting. So how will this be paid for by the city? Because Mr. Roberts is still, he's not just going to build this for free. He expects to be paid for the development. So looking at that and having a plan of how that can be accomplished. So all of those aspects would be coming out of this conceptual phase.
And with that, as a follow-up, when we talk about, now that we have a map available for the public, you know, I try to think of myself watching it from home and seeing a bank that I go to, seeing 2 banks that I may go to, some businesses that currently exist. Can we maybe speak to what happens with those businesses? What's the approach? Have they already been approached?
Yes, we have sent letters of intent to purchase to both Bank of America and Wells Fargo, and that is part of the conversation when we sent it with them, was to give them an opportunity to be a part of the development. And we didn't go into a lot of detail at that point about what the development project was. We just mentioned that we were working with the city on a possible development downtown, and that we would, if they're interested in making space for them down there
Okay,
somehow.
thank you.
Cat's out of the bag now. Cat's out of the bag
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if we got ahead of that before putting a map up there.
Yes.
I guess in a follow-up to that would be, just while my brain's running, do we, and it may be a bit premature, so feel free to tell me if it is, but do we anticipate any pushback?
I don't think so. The biggest problem is that they're corporate, so it's not as simple, like with the other properties, it's the Carson properties, we know them, we've already communicated with them, and so it's a lot easier to communicate with Bank of America. First of all, it was finding the right person to communicate with, and then just a lot of follow-up and having to go through the corporate, but I don't necessarily think there'll be any pushback from it. And my understanding is at one point, Wells Fargo had even reached out to Mr. Roberts about purchasing the building 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah.
And this was for something completely separate, though, correct?
Yeah, it was, and I don't even know if it was for anything other than, because that's where we office. We're upstairs in the Wells Fargo building. And so that's why they approached them.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Does anyone else have questions?
Mr. Gonzalez.
Just a comment. I think the project like this will be an asset to our downtown. It's past due. It's going to depend on the cost, but at this time and point, I'm really in favor of it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks to both of you for the presentation, and thanks to those who are involved in the project. And it is nice to see our local folks saying, what can I do to help my hometown? And so I appreciate that very much about all of you. And if there's no other conversation, we're going to vote now.
Okay.
Oh, come on, Matthew.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, on to item 19.
The City Council will convene an executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Government Code. A, Section 551.074, Personnel Matters, to deliberate regarding matters related to the meet and confer agreements with the San Marcos Police Officers Association, Professional Firefighters Association. B, Section 551.071, Consultation with attorney to receive legal advice regarding 1, enforcement of the wastewater industrial pre-treatment program, and 2, the amendment of boundaries and the available options for adding projects to the River Bridge Public Improvement District authorized under terms of a settlement agreement with the original developer to the land, see Section 551.072 real property, to deliberate regarding the possible sale, lease, or exchange of land for development of a new city hall.
And to the folks here and the folks at home, we always post the same information on our 3 o'clock agenda as we do our 6 o'clock. If we can complete it at 3 o'clock, that's great. And if not, then we'd go into executive session at the 6 o'clock meeting. We did complete all of these items at our 3 o'clock, and so we will not be needing to go into executive session at this time. So we're ready for item 20, Mr. Trevino.
Consider action by motion or provide direction to staff related to the city council's executive session deliberation under the following sections of the Texas Government Code during the city council's work session or regular meeting as cited below.
All right. And on item A, meet and confer, we received information and provided direction to staff. On item B1, we received information. Item 2, we provided direction to staff. Item C, we received information, and by the way, that was item 18 on this agenda. And so that concludes item 20. Next is
Questions and answers.
question and answer with press and public. We had Mr. Maxfield Baker signed up. He's okay. He is, I think he got everything said earlier. And so at this point, did we have anyone else signed up?
No, ma'am.
All right, then I am going to adjourn us, being no further items on our agenda, at 7:16. Put that on the front page of the paper.